Alright, hello and welcome. I'm Internet Celebrity Brad Pritchard. This is a little vintage story video I wanted to make for you about why you should settle in a hot climate. The default in this game is start you in a temperate climate, and I think that actually is the perfect setting for a new player, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. But once you've experienced the game a little bit, I think settling in a hot biome, or climate rather, biomes aren't really like that in this game, is a great way to kind of learn new things about the game and experience things in a different way. So, everybody seemed to like my last video that was slightly mean-spirited, a little bit, not a lot, not like drawing huge numbers kind of way, but people enjoyed it. I did get a lot of dislikes. It was mean-spirited, and I was certainly aware of that while I was making it. This one is not mean-spirited. It's just something I don't see very much among other vintage story YouTubers, is because most of them just seem to stay in the default climate. So let's get going. The first thing that makes starting in a hot climate interesting are some different early game foods. You can see I'm sitting here by a stand of bamboo that I planted myself, and all around the bamboo you got these bamboo shoots. You can cut them down, and as they are you can do nothing with them, but just apply a knife. One bamboo shoot turns into 2 edible bamboo shoots. These are a pretty unique item in the game. I believe the only one that... You can see I'm doing pretty good on satiety here. But one thing they don't do, and I'm doing well in nutrition, they don't add nutrition. They don't add to any of these 5 groups. All they do is add to satiety. So I can eat them, satiety goes up, nothing else does. So that's a huge downside, right? That they don't actually go into your nutrition. But early game, they're so easy to get and they're so plentiful. So look at how many of these are around. And bamboo are also pretty much everywhere in a wet, hot climate. So pick up 32 of these. You got a full stack that's going to last you for 3 to 4 days. It's fantastic. It's really easy. Only negative is, well, there's 2 negatives. One is the one I just mentioned, that they don't add anything to nutrition. The second is that they can't be cooked for anything. Eating them raw is all you can do. And there's another really cool food that you can get early game here in hot climates. This one in the hot and drier areas. You can see a termite mound here. Just punch that a bit. A bit more. There you go. And you see I've got... Oh, there's a... What the fuck's this bowthorn doing here? It's fucking daytime. Come here, you motherfucker. I hate bowthorn so much that I'm going to hunt him down. Get out of here. I'm just going to leave you on the ground. There's a hyena. Was that a hyena or a boar? Oh. Get out of here. That's something I want to talk to you about later. But you saw a preview of it there. We'll be talking about animals in a bit. But right now we don't need to. We're talking about termites. They're fresh for 2 days. They're 60 satiation. And they're protein. You can't do anything with them, much like bamboo shoots. You can't cook them. You can't put them in pies. You can't put them in stews. But they just give you protein for your nutrition, which is, you know, unheard of in the temperate zone. And it leaves this mound on the ground. I usually get rid of them because they're not gonna respawn. These are a one-time kind of deal. Bamboo you can replant and get more. These are just done, and I think they're ugly, so I always get rid of them. There's a trader over here. But of course, there are some trade-offs here. Usually early game in the temperate zone, you're eating a lot of berries and mushrooms. And you can see I do have some berry bushes here. It's not a lot, and it should be noted that when I play in a temperate zone, I pick up every single berry bush and bring it home. These are all the ones I found, and I went to a pretty unusual zone to find them. Mushrooms, a little more in the middle. You can still find a bit of mushrooms, but mushrooms do spawn based on temperature in addition to moisture. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are. The wiki's not entirely clear on it. You're right, nice. So I haven't seen quite as many. And in the truly hot zones, you don't see, like the hottest areas of the hot climate, you don't see many mushrooms. Over here in these trees, there's actually a decent amount of mushrooms. So if you're in the right part of the hot zone, mushrooms are still there. Berry bushes, not so much so. All right, while I'm over by the farm, sorry for those twists around. I keep alt tabbing and it's not going well. I'm not going to edit them out though. You can't make me. So whatever. While we're talking about the berry bushes, you can see here that if you look at one that's empty, it says will flower in 3 days, weather permitting. A lot of the places in the hot climate, throughout 3/4 of the year, weather will not be permitting. So even if you drag some over here from a cooler zone, they're still not going to behave the same way they do in a temperate climate. So don't expect that many berries. I mean, mine are mostly here for decoration. I'd like a few more for that purpose. I'll have to go someplace else to get them. There is an island somewhere over here that, despite being at the same latitude, is significantly cooler. You know, climate and biomes in this game are quite granular. So you'll find a few places like that. And you can do things like get berry bushes. But there's also just tons of different plants down here. So let's take a look at a few of my favorites. Right here is one of the absolute coolest. Peanuts. So take a look once again at my nutrition. Look at how high my protein is. It's not maxed out, but it's pretty damn close. Have I eaten any meat? Nope, not in months. Why? Because of peanuts. Peanuts are absolutely amazing. Once again, kind of like the termites. I've not been eating a shitload of termites, by the way, if that's what you were thinking. No, it's all peanuts. Peanuts cannot be cooked. They're just eaten raw. You can't put them in pies, which I think is pretty dubious. I can imagine a peanut pie, but you can't. But what you can do is just eat them raw. I use them as kind of a little filler in between my pies. I'm a pie guy. I don't really do stews. And they provide really good satiety, and they provide protein. So I'm up here despite never eating meat because I don't want to eat meat. Not because I don't want it, because I tried to get some pigs and it just didn't work out for me. Another really interesting plant is amaranth. One reason to grow it is because when it's ripe, it looks amazing with these hot pink blooms. The other is that it doesn't deplete your nutrients in the soil nearly as much. You can look at that. It's a fully grown one, and this piece of medium soil is almost at max because it all comes back by the time it's done growing. It's basically neutral, so you can plant whatever you want there. So while you're looking for new seeds, like you don't have enough flax or whatever, just plop down some amaranth and you'll be good. So, and it creates a normal grain, which is fine. And it does have one drawback, which has a fairly low yield. Does this matter once you're past the beginning of the game? I don't think so. I always have way too much grain. I can take you down to the cellar and show you how much grain I have. It's a ridiculous amount. So no, I don't need that. Another interesting plant is the cassava. The cassava is interesting because it does a couple of things. Yeah, you'll see that it's also, nutrients are really good on this plot. That's because I've been leaving it there to not harvest for a while. But yeah, it also doesn't take many nutrients, and it does two different things. And provides a little bit of a different game mechanic. So it can be either a vegetable or you can turn it into flour. The only issue here is you have to soak it. Much like in real life, you can't just eat cassava straight off the plant. It will poison you and you will die. So you have to soak it in a barrel for a day, I believe. And then you can turn it into a soaked cassava, which you can then process with a knife and then put into your pies or stews or whatever. Or you can let it dry out and it will become something you can grind into flour. Looks like nighttime is approaching and it's not calm out here. So let me try to describe one more cool plant from the tropics. And this one's really simple. These carrots aren't going to grow very well. There's going to be some downsides, which I'll discuss inside after we're done. Rice. What's good about rice? It has higher satiety than any other grain. So if you're making pies or stews, porridges or pies, I suppose, it's really good. You get more satiety per item, so it's just good. It takes a little bit longer to grow. There's always trade-offs in this game. Does it really matter which plant you grow other than flax? Not really. I'm taking it down to the cellar, by the way. As you can see, I got grain. I got plenty of grain. There's also some sunflower grain in here. It's a unique plant to the area, but there's nothing really special about it unless you like looking at sunflowers, which I kind of do. The other problem here, you can see the raw cassava. It hasn't been soaked. So it doesn't stay fresh nearly as well as other things. So I don't think it's very good for all your vegetables. I went a long time just eating bread because I couldn't get vegetables grown. I couldn't find many seeds that would help me. Solution to that was just onions. Onions do not care about temperature at all. You can grow them anywhere. It's fine. So that's now taking care of my vegetable needs. They're everywhere. I've got some turnips as well, which grow okay here, but not nearly as well. I'll talk about the downsides in just a bit, and that's kind of one of them. Getting early vegetables is a little bit tough. More cassava. This one's 107 days. But 107 days is a long time. I'll be fine. It's really totally fine. I should eat something. Oh, I've got some. What do I have today? I've got onion pie. I'm eating a lot of onion pie. There's no two ways about it. I could process more cassava, but it is a pain in the ass to process the cassava. I think it's really cool how close to real to life it is. All right, new day, and I'm back. Here's one more big food advantage, I think, even though this one is kind of half good, half bad. It's so easy to find fruit trees here in the hot climate. You can see I've got things like pomegranates and lychees, and more lychees and more lychees, and orange trees. And this one, oh, you're not fruiting, okay. And some olive trees. I have not found, apparently, the Rolls Royce of fruit trees, the breadfruit. But I do have one orange tree that is actually fruiting. It's finally going to be ripe in another 10 and a half days. So fruit trees take forever to bear fruit. But once they get going, it's pretty sweet. And it's just kind of cool. I don't know how good it is, but it's really cool and I like it. I've got a full orchard going. There's a few stubs in here that failed to grow here and there. But actually, I've got like basically a 5x5 orchard. This cutting didn't quite make it. But I've had enough cuttings. They only make it 40% of the time to fill up basically a 5x5 grid. So fruit trees, they work great. And they really are a replacement for berries because berries are so easy to grow. If you're in a temperate climate, pick up every berry tree. You'll have 100 in about 5 days of play, and they will bear fruit pretty regularly, which is great, but less fun to me. And maybe it's because I'm so used to it from playing in the temperate zones. So fruit trees, though, you don't find that many of them in the temperate zone. They certainly exist, but you don't find nearly as many. Here in the hot zone, you find all kinds of them. So that's great as well. And so just like there are drawbacks, of course. Everything's a give and take in this game. One of the things that works the worst here in the hot climate is cabbage. Most of the time you can't grow cabbage at all, honestly. Cabbage, like during the summer, it's impossible. Well, you can, of course. You'll just get the half of the output. And for the first place I settled here, that would be all year round. At the current place I'm at, it's not quite so bad. During the winter, it gets down around 15. So you can grow them in the winter if you really want, but it's generally not worth it. You never have very many seeds, and you're gonna get half output, and they take forever to grow. So I don't think much of growing them here. It can be done. Generally, not worth it. Stick to the plants that actually match the climate. Next, let's talk about animals. So pigs and chicken, which I think are the two most common animals you'd want to use. Oh, they're starving. Here you go, fellas. For livestock raising. They're available everywhere. I haven't been able to sucker any pigs into this area. This is the pig pen. You can see that it is well empty. There's plenty of pigs around. All I can find are boars, though, and I can't find any piglets in. They're all far away, so I'm not going to throw a rock at them and get them to chase me 500 blocks. That's just not going to happen. But as you can see, the chickens are busy doing their thing. I don't have any roosters either. It's all hens in there, so they're not really expanding. But they're easy enough to find, easy enough to trap. No problems there. So that's great. If you want to do livestock, you're going to be mostly good. The one place you might have problems, and for me this isn't a real problem because, as you can see, my dairy nutrition's completely empty. I think that's true for a lot of players. Making milk and then cheese and whatever is a pain in the ass. I don't really want to do it. And it's also it's really hard to do here. It's too hot for sheep, and there's only one species of goat that's around. I've seen one of them, and I didn't see any of its babies, so I couldn't get them captured in a reed basket trap. All I could get was them running away from me as fast as they can, which was too fast for me to catch up. Even if you just want to hunt them, you need to use a bow and arrow, realistically. So if you want to do a dairy production, it might be pretty hard down here to make that happen. Now let's talk about the animals in the wild who are trying to kill you. Saw this one before. I'm coming back into the desert in search of hyenas. And you can see one over here. Let's see if I can get it to attack me unprovoked. There's another one back there. Oh, there's also this, which is nice to see. I'll show you that in a minute. Would you like to attack me, sir? Yes. I punched it. You couldn't tell. The animation was really quick. It just ran away. And this makes tons of sense. In real life, wolves are predators, hyenas are scavengers. So I can't tell if they're less aggressive. It certainly seems like it to me. But also, you just punch them once or hit them with a weapon once, whatever you want to do. And they just back off. This one might come back. I don't really want to fight it again. You've seen how it works. And they only inhabit the dry zones. So if you go to the forest, you have no danger of wolves at all. I've heard that it's possible for wolves to show up in a hot climate, but I've literally never seen one. So I don't think it happens very often. I think it has to be pretty close to the border with the warm zone. All you got these hyenas. Stay out of the desert. You're not going to see them. They'll be on the the plains near the desert as well. But that's all you're going to see. They're not going to show up all the time. They're not that aggressive, and they're very, very easy to deter. So that's totally awesome if you don't want to get eaten by wolves, which happens to be an early game all the time. Now, I did pick something up there. I picked up a saguaro fruit. This is just a fruit you can eat. They're pretty rare. There's plenty of cacti around, but they don't fruit very much. You can turn it into juice. I don't know why you do that, because if you eat it, it just gives you a little bit of satiation, but it also gives you 1 HP back. So let's heal up. There we go. So those are really cool. You're not going to get a lot of them unless you are really searching the wilds of the deserts and fighting hyenas. And I probably will come and take down all these hyenas for leather at some point, but I don't have any limestone or chalk or marble, so I can't really make any leather right now anyway. So I'm just leaving them be. If they come at me, I just punch them once in the snout, and off they go. Alright, let's talk just a couple more things here. I wanted to show you the bear situation here in hot climates, but I couldn't find any bears. I should have fired up creative mode, obviously, but I didn't want to, so I did not. But bears are so much less of a threat here in hot climates than in temperate ones. It's ridiculous. You don't see the black bears or the brown bears that you see there. Instead, you see pandas and sun bears. They're both not aggressive. They won't attack you. You can attack them if you want and they'll fight back. But even then, they're not very good at it. They both have much weaker attacks than the bears you see in temperate climates. So the wildlife threats are nothing compared to the evil rift enemies. So when you're just wandering around, if you set a few days to not have things spawn, you're going to be fine. You're safe, really. The coyotes just punch them in the face. Or sorry, not coyotes. They are hyenas. Hyenas, you punch them in the face and they run away. Great. Last topic. Let's talk trees. I love the trees here in the hot climate. You have a couple special trees. You can see one on my roof there. That's a purple heart. They grow mostly around kapok trees, in my experience. I can see a rift just over there. And they produce this beautiful purple wood. Super cool. You need a level 2, a copper axe to cut them down. You can't use a flint axe. But they're awesome. They look great. The other one is the ebony tree. This is an ebony tree I grew myself. And this is actually a relatively small one. And they produce beautiful dark brown wood. Let me sprint over here so I can show you. I've got the ebony room over here. Ebony wood looks like this. It looks cool. You need a level 3 axe to chop that down. So that means bronze of some sort. So these trees are rare. These often occur mostly among acacia trees, but I'll talk to you about in just a sec. And what makes them rare is they're kind of a more limited resource. If you cut down a regular tree, you're going to get a bunch of seeds, right? If you cut these down, you're probably going to get 0 seeds. If you climb the tree, cut down all of the leaves, you might get 1. For an ebony, you might get 1. I cut down a much larger ebony tree and I cut off as many leaves and branches as I could. I got 1 seed. I've only cut down 1 ebony tree thus far, but I got 1 seed for it. And you can very easily get 0 even after cutting down all the leaves. Purple hearts are not quite so severe, but it's pretty severe. I've cut down 3 and I got 6 seeds, which sounds like, from what I've read, probably a little above average. So they're not quite as renewable and they take forever to grow. This tree took 45 or 50 days. It took forever. So they're not coming back anytime soon, even if you do get some seeds, which you may not. So they produce beautiful wood, fun for doing building type stuff. I mean, I guess you could use creative mode as well. I'm never going to play creative mode in this game. It's like I did in Minecraft. So this is my acacia forest. I made a little grove here so I could have some wood. And acacia is pretty important because it's your oak substitute. So it can, wild ones, not the ones that you've made, which I don't understand. I don't understand why these can't produce resin. Produce resin. They produce resin for you. You can use them to make tannin for leather working. And they have this nice orange color. If you notice, that's what I use for all of my fences. My fences are all acacia wood. I've got a little acacia wood border here around my door. Debarked those bad boys. So acacia is also cool. It's also just a complete necessity. Finally, bamboo. We talked a little bit about the bamboo sprouts, but they also grow and you can use them. My janky half roof over there is made out of bamboo, and they're a great starting construction material. That's what I like about them. So that's cool. And also you can make this swanky hat. I've got this hat here, which you can see if I take off my gamboised helmet. But there's a bamboo cone hat. It protects you from rain. Is that important? I don't know. I think in the hot zone, being wet doesn't really matter. You're just like still fine because you're not cold. So I guess if you make your bamboo hat and then head up back north, you'll be very happy to have it if it's raining. So that's cool. Bamboo's nice as well. All right, and one final cool thing about the hot zone, and this also applies to warm also. This is in temperate and colder. You don't see a lot of this. This is a 1.21 thing. Reefs. Reefs look amazing. You can see little fish swimming around them. There's some bigger fish. I don't see any of those right now. There's a bunch of unique fish that swim around them, and it makes the ocean so much more vibrant and fun. You can mine the reefs and dry them out and turn them into cobblestone or cobblestone fences, which is great as well. But they're really just here, I think, for visual flair, and I think that's really cool. And you won't see, as I said, you won't see many of them in in colder climates. So another good reason to head down to the hot tropics area. Okay, and one last bit here about maybe why you shouldn't do this. I personally think that in your first playthrough, you absolutely shouldn't do this. Winter, wolves, and bears are a huge part of the initial challenge of Vintage Story, and you should experience them for yourselves. Once you've gone through one winter, you'll have it figured out. And I don't think it's all that challenging the second time around. So if you're coming back in the game, absolutely try the hot climate. But if you're just starting out, this is easy mode. Don't do easy mode the first time. Do it after you've kind of gotten accustomed to the game and you know how to overcome its early game challenges. And how should you go about doing that? Well, that's going to be a little bit different depending on whether you are starting a new world or if you are continuing an existing one. So let me show you some menus. We can talk about that. And here are the promised menus. You can see my existing worlds here. Let's say you wanted to start a new world and you want to be in a hot climate. Very, very simple. Just go into customize and it's all right here in starting climate. You can start in hot, start in warm. Probably the best of both worlds is being right on the edge of hot and warm. So up to you. You'll be able to grow a few more plants that way, and it could be really fun for you. Now, when you're looking at world generation, let's look at another couple of things. One, if you want to do this in your existing world, you better hope you change the land cover setting, because oceans are now a big part of the game. The last two releases focused heavily on oceans in terms of both sailboats and the reef stuff I showed you earlier. And if you have it at 97.5%, you are never going to see a substantially sized ocean. I would recommend putting it all the way down to like 50%. So if you've already built a world that's at default 97.5%, don't do this. You're going to have to walk a long way. And why is that? Another setting, polar to equator distance. So it's set at 100,000 blocks. There's 5 different zones from icy down to hot. So that's 20,000 blocks per zone. So if you start in the normal temperate zone, you're probably have to walk about 30,000 blocks, which is a long way. If you got a lot of ocean, yeah, you can build that up and build a sailboat and get down there. But if you're just on a world with that kind of polar to equator distance, I don't think you're going to have that much fun with it. But I don't know. Yet the problem is, you basically can't bring everything with you, right? So, can you carry stuff in sailboats? That's actually my next mission, is to actually build a sailboat and sail around. I have a lot of ocean around me. I built next to the ocean on purpose so I could see the reefs and stuff. So I've been traveling around in my little raft, which is not particularly time efficient. But can you store stuff in boats? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, so if you're already in a game, think about what your settings are. And these are not things that you can change after world generation. So if you're on this or somehow put it even higher, you're not getting out. Not easily, at least. And you left the ocean the way it is. So I'm going to show you one last thing before I go. But before I do that, because this is a completely unrelated topic, and if you've made it this far, I feel like you're a hardened vintage story fan, and maybe you can help me out with a small problem I'm having. But other than that, let me know in the comments if there's anything I missed, either positive or negative, about starting off in a hot climate. I'd love to know. All right. Okay, so here we go. Help me out here. I'm back inside my house. There's a handy little console command. Type /debug rooms high. That's for highlighted. And you can see this room's green. This is a room. According to the wiki, rooms can be no larger than 14 by 14 by 14. And this is nowhere close to that. It's about, I think it's 11 long, maybe 8 high. No problem. 5 wide. Not too big. I got this room over here. You see, it changed me. It showed green when I was walking in. It's not green anymore. Let me close the door. I'll turn that off real fast. Actually, I don't think I need to. I need to do it again. This room's red. That means it's not a room. Why the fuck is this not a room? I don't understand. It's a 5 by 5 room. Sturdy walls on all sides. It's only, I believe, 11 or 12 high, so it's not too high. It's got a trapdoor here, but trapdoors work. I tested that by removing that block and adding one back in here. Why is this not a room? Why is this not a room? Can someone tell me why this is not a room? This is a problem. I mean, this room doesn't do much. It takes me up to the little viewing area, basically, is all. It doesn't do much. But I don't understand why that is not a room. Can someone tell me why that's not a room? Be a room. I swear you're a room. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, that's pretty impressive. And thanks again. I'll see you again soon. I don't know if I'll be making any more vintage story videos or any more videos at all. Who knows? I kind of do this pretty rarely. But if you enjoyed it, just give it a like or whatever. If you didn't like it, give it a dislike. I don't mind that either. All right. See you later. Bye.